The silent strategy. The first sign that something had changed came not with a declaration or an ultimatum, but with silence. Admiral Elena Kira stood at the observation deck of Earth's orbital command station, her weathered face illuminated by the blue glow of her homeworld below. For 3 decades, she had represented humanity at the Galactic Conclave, arguing, debating, and sometimes shouting to ensure human interests were protected among the stars. The humans were known throughout the galaxy as the loud species, the argumentative ones, the beings who never knew when to stay quiet. Until now. "They're requesting another meeting, Admiral," Lieutenant Commander Rice said, approaching with a data tablet. "The hegemony ambassadors say it's urgent." Kira didn't turn from the viewport. No response. Rice hesitated. "Mom." "You heard me, Lieutenant." No response. "Not to this, not to anything for the next 14 solar cycles." "With respect, Admiral, the Zalaxian hegemony controls 70% of the known galaxy. Their ships outgun ours 10 to 1. The Conclave has made it clear they expect our mining colonies to be surrendered by." "I'm aware of the situation, Lieutenant." Kira finally turned, her dark eyes reflecting starlight. "That's precisely why we're going silent. Send the encrypted orders to all human outposts, colonies, and ships. As of this moment, Operation Stillness begins." The orders rippled across human space like a silent wave. In the Great Hall of the Galactic Conclave, the human delegates attended but offered no arguments, no counterproposals, no fiery speeches about freedom and independence. When addressed directly, they responded with minimal words, their usual passion conspicuously absent. On Proxima Centauri B, Governor Malik Chen received the orders with skepticism. "This is suicide," he told his staff, secure in their underground bunker. "The Zalaxians will see this as weakness, as surrender." "That's what Admiral Kira is counting on," his chief of security replied. "They don't understand humans. Never have. Throughout their centuries in space, humans had been the disruptors, the innovators, the species that never accepted limitations. When told faster than light travel was impossible, they built the Shaw Fujikoa drive. When told terraforming would take millennia, they completed Mars in 70 years. The aliens had always viewed human stubbornness as a curiosity, sometimes admirable, often annoying. But the Zalaxian hegemony saw it as a threat. Deep beneath the surface of Luna, in facilities that didn't exist on any official record, Dr. Sophia Patel worked with a team of Earth's brightest minds on Project Nebula. "The silence is buying us time," she told them as they labored over technology that bent the laws of physics. "Every day the hegemony spends trying to understand our new behavior is another day for us to complete the project." The Zalaxians weren't the only ones watching humanity's strange behavior. The Araxians, a smaller species from the galactic rim, had long maintained friendly relations with Earth. Captain Nix, their diplomatic envoy, risked everything to meet secretly with Kira at an abandoned mining station in the asteroid belt. "Your strategy puzzles us, friend Elena," the insectoid alien chittered, compound eyes gleaming in the dim light. "The hegemony believes you have conceded defeat. They are dividing your territories already." Kira nodded slowly. "And what do you believe, Nix?" "I believe that when predators fall silent, they are hunting." Nix's mandibles clicked nervously. "But the hegemony is no small prey." "No," Kira agreed. "They are not. Which is why I must ask something difficult of your people. Stay clear of human space for the next 10 cycles. Whatever you see or hear, do not intervene." The Araxian captain tilted his head. "The treaty between our worlds will mean nothing if we're both subjugated by the hegemony." Kira placed a hand on the alien's chitinous shoulder. "Trust me, old friend. Sometimes the greatest statement is made in silence." As predicted, the hegemony interpreted humanity's retreat from galactic politics as acceptance of defeat. High Commander Zelvax of the Zalaxian fleet addressed his commanders with satisfaction, his scaled skin rippling with dominance patterns. The humans have finally learned their place in the natural order, he hissed. Their colonies will be absorbed without resistance. Their resources will fuel our expansion into the Eastern Arm, and their world will serve as an example to any who would challenge hegemony rule. Admiral Kira received reports of the hegemony's fleet movements with grim satisfaction. Everything was proceeding as she had foreseen. The aliens believed they understood humans, believed they could predict their behavior based on past patterns. They expected protests, desperate diplomatic overtures, perhaps even suicidal military resistance. On the 15th day of the silence, the hegemony dispatched an ultimatum to Earth's governments. Their demands were extensive: surrender of all extraterrestrial colonies, disarmament of the human fleet, acceptance of Zalaxian advisors in all major Earth governments, and unlimited mining rights to Earth's remaining resources. They gave humanity 72 hours to respond. In the underground facility on Luna, Dr. Patel's team worked without rest. "It's ready," she finally announced, her voice hoarse from exhaustion. "Not perfect, but ready." Admiral Kira stared at the unassuming device in the center of the laboratory. It looked nothing like a weapon, nothing like humanity's salvation. "You're certain it will work?" "In theory, yes. In practice?" Patel shrugged. "We've never attempted anything like this before. Nobody has. The hegemony's invasion fleet will reach our outer defense perimeter in 20 hours, Kira said. Theory will have to be enough." Throughout human space, preparations were made in continued silence. Civilian populations were evacuated to hardened shelters. Military assets were repositioned according to plans that had been in development for years, waiting for this moment. On the public channels, still nothing but silence. The silence unnerved some among the hegemony forces. Sub-Commander Thrix, a veteran of countless subjugations, found herself troubled as her battle group approached Sol's system. "They should be begging for terms by now," she remarked to her second. "Perhaps we have misunderstood something fundamental about these humans." Her second, a younger Zalaxian, flicked his tongue dismissively. "They are merely primitive, Commander. Their silence is the silence of the doomed." The deadline passed. No response came from Earth. The hegemony fleet crossed Neptune's orbit, a vast armada of warships representing the most powerful military force in the known galaxy. High Commander Zelvax issued orders for the first wave to proceed to Mars, where they would establish a forward base before the final push to Earth. Still, human communications remained silent. It was only when the first hegemony ships reached Mars orbit that Admiral Kira finally broke the silence. A single message, transmitted on all frequencies, in all languages of the Conclave. "You should have run." Throughout Sol system and beyond, at precisely the same moment, Project Nebula activated. The effect was immediately apparent but impossible to comprehend for the hegemony forces. Space itself seemed to ripple around their ships, as though reality was a pond and someone had thrown a stone into it. The laws of physics began to shift. On the bridge of his flagship, High Commander Zelvax watched in horror as his most advanced sensors simply stopped functioning. Navigation systems reported impossible readings. Weapons systems activated and deactivated at random, and from the supposedly primitive human vessels now emerging from hiding, not a single conventional weapon had yet been fired. They didn't need to fire. They had changed the rules of the game itself. "What have you done?" Zelvax demanded over the emergency channel. Admiral Kira's voice came back calm, measured. "We've been working on this since we first encountered your species, Commander. You see, we realized something fundamental about galactic civilization. It's built on common understanding of physical laws. But humans have always excelled at finding loopholes in laws. The first hegemony ship imploded as localized gravity suddenly increased 1,000-fold around it. Another spun out of control as its mass fluctuated wildly between near zero and crushing density. We didn't build better weapons," Kira continued. "We changed the battlefield itself. Project Nebula allows us to create localized fields where we control the fundamental constants of the universe. Your technology can't function because the physics it's based on no longer applies. As the first phase of humanity's response unfolded across the solar system, the message that had begun with silence was now being delivered with unmistakable clarity. The species that the galaxy had dismissed as loud, brash, and technologically inferior had been quietly rewriting the rules of reality itself. And they were just getting started. The reckoning dawned. The hegemony invasion force collapsed into chaos within hours. Ships that had traveled across the galaxy with perfect precision now found themselves unable to maintain basic flight paths. Weapons designed to shatter planets fizzled and died as the physical principles they relied upon were selectively altered within their containment fields. On his flagship, now drifting powerless near Deimos, High Commander Zelvax watched his mighty armada disintegrate without a single human missile being fired. "Impossible," he hissed, scales flattening in distress. No species could develop such technology. The Conclave would have detected it. His science officer, a member of the aquatic Meridian species, bubbled anxiously in her breathing apparatus. "That is precisely why we didn't detect it, Commander. We weren't looking for this approach." The humans did not advance along expected technological paths. They created an entirely new one. Aboard Earth's orbital command station, Admiral Kira monitored the disintegration of the invasion force with grim satisfaction. Lieutenant Commander Reyes stood at her side, watching the holographic display with awe. "It's working better than we anticipated," Reyes said. "Their fleet is completely neutralized." Kira nodded. "Phase 2. Ready for deployment, Admiral. The nebula nodes have been positioned throughout human space. Once activated, they'll create a protective network around all our territories." Not all ships in the hegemony fleet had been rendered inoperable. A squadron of fast attack craft, commanded by Sub-Commander Thrix, had managed to retreat to the outer system before the nebula effect fully manifested. Now they regrouped near Titan, trying to understand what had happened. "The humans have weaponized physics itself," Thrix told her surviving officers. "This changes everything we understood about them, about warfare, about our place in the galaxy." A junior officer hissed in disagreement. "We should summon reinforcements from the core systems. The hegemony will not allow this insult to stand." Thrix stared at the officer, her vertical pupils narrowing. "You still don't understand what has happened here, do you? If the humans can change physical laws within their sphere of influence, no amount of conventional forces will matter." She made her decision. Breaking from hegemony protocol, Thrix ordered her ships to broadcast on an open channel. "This is Sub-Commander Thrix of the Hegemony Third Fleet. I request parley with human authorities." The response came not from Admiral Kira, but from Governor Chen on Proxima Centauri. "We are listening, Sub-Commander. State your purpose." Throughout the next solar day, a remarkable exchange unfolded. Thrix's squadron surrendered formally, not just to human forces, but to a new understanding of the galactic order. As news spread through the Conclave, other species began to reassess their relationships with humanity. On Luna, Dr. Patel's team continued refining Project Nebula. "We've stabilized the field generators," she reported to Admiral Kira. "The effect can now be sustained indefinitely with minimal power consumption." "And the ethical constraints?" Kira asked. "Fully implemented. The system will only alter physics in ways that neutralize weapons and aggressive technology. It won't harm biological entities directly." This had been Kira's insistence from the beginning, that humanity's great leap would not become a tool of genocide. They would defend themselves, protect their sovereignty, but they would not become the monsters they fought against. The Araxians were the first to formally recognize humanity's new status. Captain Nix returned to Earth not as a diplomatic envoy, but as the full ambassador of his people. "You have changed the equation of power in our galaxy," he told Kira when they met again. "Some will fear you for it." "They should," Kira replied. "But fear isn't our goal. Recognition is. Equality is. And if the hegemony refuses to accept this new reality..." Kira's expression hardened. Then they will find that our silence was the least of their concerns. The Zalaxian High Council convened an emergency session after receiving reports of their fleet's defeat. Councillor Vex, oldest among them, addressed his peers with uncharacteristic humility. "We have fundamentally misunderstood the humans," he said, his ancient scales dull with age. "We interpreted their silence as weakness, their lack of protest as surrender. We were wrong. They deceived us," another councillor hissed. "No," Vex corrected. "They showed us who they truly are, and we refuse to see. Humans do not think as we do. When threatened, most species either fight immediately or submit. Humans innovate." The debate raged for days within the council. Some advocated for an all-out assault on human space, committing the full might of the hegemony to crush this upstart species. Others recognized the futility of conventional warfare against an enemy who could alter the laws of physics themselves. In the end, pragmatism prevailed. The hegemony dispatched a formal delegation to Earth, not to demand surrender but to request a ceasefire and open negotiations. Admiral Kira received them in the very orbital station, where Operation Stillness had begun 90 days earlier. The Zalaxian delegates entered with less arrogance than they might have displayed before, their posture careful, measured. The hegemony acknowledges the unexpected development of human defensive capabilities. Their lead negotiator began. "We propose a mutual recognition of territorial boundaries and a non-aggression pact." Kira studied them silently for a long moment, allowing the discomfort of human stillness to permeate the room once more. "No," she finally said. "That won't be sufficient." The Zalaxians stiffened, preparing for devastating demands. But what Kira proposed next surprised everyone. "Humanity doesn't want isolation or mere tolerance," she continued. "We want integration, equal membership in the conclave, with full voting rights, joint scientific ventures to explore the potential of nebula technology for peaceful applications, and immediate liberation of all subjugated species within hegemony space." The lead negotiator's scales flushed with shock. "You would share this technology after we tried to conquer you?" "We're not like you," Kira replied simply. "We never were. That's what you failed to understand." Over the following months, the galaxy witnessed a transformation unlike any in its history. The hegemony, faced with no viable alternative, accepted humanity's terms. The conclave was reorganized, power distributed more equitably among all sentient species. Project Nebula's principles were cautiously shared with a joint scientific commission, with safeguards to prevent weaponization. 1 year after Operation Stillness began, Admiral Kira stood again at the viewport of the orbital station, looking down at Earth. Lieutenant Commander Reyes, now Captain Reyes, joined her. "The Araxian delegation has arrived for the technology exchange," Reyes reported, "and the former hegemony worlds are sending their first independent representatives to New Geneva next week." Kira nodded. "And Project Eclipse?" "Dr. Patel says they're making progress. If it works, interstellar travel without conventional drives will be possible. We could reach the Andromeda Galaxy within a human lifetime." A small smile touched Kira's lips. "Humanity will never be silent about some things, Captain. Our curiosity, our drive to explore, our determination to keep pushing boundaries. But we learned the value of strategic silence," Reyes noted. "Yes," Kira agreed, turning from the viewport to face a future no one had predicted. And so did the galaxy. In the great archives of the new conclave, the historian Nix, formerly captain, now scholar, would later record his observation of human nature that became the most quoted passage in galactic education. "The species that talks the most is not necessarily the one with the most to say, but when those who speak ceaselessly suddenly fall silent, the wise prepare for transformation." For humans have always understood what many of us forgot. True power doesn't announce itself. It simply changes everything. Throughout settled space, a new saying spread among alien species, taught to children as both warning and wisdom. When humans fall silent, the universe holds its breath. For in that silence, They are not defeated. They are creating.